Welcome to Channel YouTube, the only nonprofit newsroom devoted solely to covering issues that affect all Californians. We are diving straight into the crisis, gripping the Golden State with a look at how data center builders are secretly draining California's precious water supplies. A new report from Next 10 and researchers at Santa Clara University reveals that planned data centers, the very ganglia of artificial intelligence, are spreading into regions critically reliant on overtapped groundwater and strained surface water, with potentially devastating effects looming in the Central and Imperial Valleys. The shocking part is that a patchwork of state and local policies is allowing these operators to completely hide their actual water consumption, making it nearly impossible for communities and researchers to assess this massive power-water trade-off. We uncover how California lawmakers failed to stop this, and what the legislature is trying to do now to finally mandate the transparency we desperately need. Next up, shift focus from water scarcity to the physical infrastructure shift, where legal advice and operational communications from county attorneys are being hidden from public view, creating a chilling effect on public deliberation and making it impossible to question decisions before they become permanent. Finally, we look at the massive footprint of this digital gold rush. From Oregon to Florida, data centers are bulldozing natural habitats, and the story goes far beyond water usage and electricity bills. Developers are aggressively buying up entire suburban communities in places like Northern Virginia, promising jobs and revenue while offering a Faustian deal to residents. We examine the massive Prince William Digital Gateway project and the protests from local residents, including Civil War reenactors and farmers, who are fighting back against these colossal tech temples. This is a battle for our landscape, and you need to know the fate of our collective digital future. Stay with us to find out what happens next. Noi Dung Kai Tight. Data centers are placing immense strain on California's water resources, with new research revealing that the industry's massive water consumption is largely hidden from the public. A report by the think tank Next 10 and researchers at Santa Clara University indicates that planned data center construction, described as the ganglia of artificial intelligence, is expanding into water-stressed and vulnerable regions, particularly the Central and Imperial Valleys, which rely heavily on overtapped groundwater and strained surface water. And the study found that a combination of state, federal, and local policies allows data center operators to avoid public disclosure of their actual water usage. This lack of transparency has severely hampered efforts by communities, water providers, and researchers to conduct meaningful assessments of the power-water trade-offs. And researchers struggled to find environmental impact reports, which are typically required under the California Environmental Quality Act, finding almost none publicly available. They discovered that projects can bypass rigorous environmental review through mechanisms like ministerial approval, which relies on local zoning standards rather than comprehensive impact assessment. /n/n, when documentation was found, it was often vague, contradictory, or missing crucial details regarding the operator, cooling systems, and water usage, whether recycled or potable. Furthermore, attempts to obtain usage data from local water providers in clustered areas yielded no response. /n/n data centers are primarily concentrated in the South San Francisco Bay Area and Los Angeles, but the report highlighted significant, planned developments in rural and less affluent areas, such as Gilroy in Santa Clara County and the heavily agricultural Imperial Valley, raising concerns that these projects are being pushed into communities with genuine water needs without adequate water impact scrutiny. /n/n experts warn that the lack of public information clouds the picture, making it difficult to assess the true scale of local water use against available supplies. This is particularly critical in areas facing acute water shortages, such as the Kern County Desert and the Imperial Valley drawing from the Colorado River. /n/n, in response to these findings, California lawmakers are re-engaging, with new bills being proposed to mandate disclosures about water use and planning. Assemblymember Diane Pappen has introduced bills requiring operators to report water use to suppliers when seeking permits, and a second bill that could bar local governments from approving new data center expansions unless water use and planning details are disclosed, including prohibitions on development in overdrafted groundwater basins. /n/n despite legislative efforts, the tech industry and business groups are mounting staunch opposition, citing concerns that stringent reporting requirements could jeopardize the viability of these essential infrastructure projects. While industry groups argue they use less water than other sectors, researchers emphasize that local impacts, the scale of new use versus local supply, are what truly matter. The call remains for greater transparency so that communities can responsibly manage their water futures. Amphenol is strategically positioning itself within the burgeoning AI and cloud infrastructure market by joining the EBO multi-source agreement alongside major chip, networking, and platform companies. This move integrates Amphenol's deep connector and interconnect expertise directly into a critical component of modern data centers. The focus is on expanded beam optical technology, which is engineered to support the high-density, high-reliability links essential for demanding AI workloads. As EBO specifications are formalized, Amphenol's potential role in defining these interoperable standards could significantly shape the future design of server racks, switches, and optical components. Investors should monitor the progression of these specifications toward commercial adoption in data center builds. This agreement aligns with Amphenol's broader strategy to become a full connectivity supplier for AI data centers, working alongside competitors like Molex, TE Connectivity, and Cisco. Standardizing EBO connectors is expected to reduce costs and complexity for hyperscalers and enterprise customers looking to scale AI clusters, thereby boosting demand for Amphenol's copper and fiber products, including those acquired through the CommScope CCS deal. While the multi-vendor MSA suggests a focus on securing a position in evolving optical architectures rather than guaranteed volume, the timing coincides with increased capital expenditure and euro bond issuance, signaling a company commitment to adapting to rising data center density and reliability needs driven by AI. Key tracking points for investors include the speed at which EBO specifications transition into qualified product designs with major customers, Amphenol's securing of meaningful content in critical hardware, and management's commentary on EBO opportunities in earnings calls. The company maintains a solid track record in electrical, electronic, and fiber optic connectors across global markets. Warren County is facing intense pressure from the data center industry, prompting strong opposition from local officials regarding the potential impact on the county's land use, groundwater, and rural character. A local commentator has unequivocally stated opposition to data centers in Warren County, arguing that they occupy scarce industrial land inefficiently and pose environmental risks. The core of the commentary focuses heavily on governmental transparency and the Board of Supervisors' decision-making processes. The author criticizes the board's recent policy changes, specifically the repeal of the Legal Services Transparency Policy and subsequent amendments to Meeting Policies and Procedures 3.2, which now restrict the public disclosure of communications from the county attorney unless explicitly approved by the Board of Supervisors. The commentator contends that this new policy creates a chilling effect on public deliberation. They argue that Virginia's Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, requires that exemptions from public access be narrowly construed, asserting that policy discussions, even those involving legal advice, should remain in the public domain so citizens can evaluate the risks and pros of decisions. Specifically, the policy change makes it easier to shield legal and administrative communications from public view. The author warns that this precedent could be exploited as the board navigates the data center issue, potentially silencing necessary scrutiny. They cite past instances where the county attorney attempted to move substantive questions into closed sessions, suggesting the new policy facilitates such maneuvers. Expressing deep concern, the author has submitted a formal request for an advisory opinion to the Virginia FOIA Advisory Council to determine the policy's consistency with state law. The commentary concludes with a forceful statement that transparency is essential for consequential decisions, ensuring that deliberations are open to public questioning, correction, and improvement, rather than being hidden behind broad claims of privilege. A growing proliferation of data centers across the United States is raising serious environmental, economic, and community concerns, with critics warning that this digital expansion poses significant threats to natural habitats and residential areas. The report highlights that beyond concerns about water consumption, data centers are contributing to soaring national energy bills due to massive electricity demands and are leading to the destruction of natural landscapes from Oregon to Florida. The issue extends beyond environmental impact to local communities. Developers are reportedly attempting to acquire entire suburban communities to build these technology monoliths, promising jobs and municipal revenue in exchange for vast tracts of residential land. However, the author contends that these promises are often hollow, citing temporary job prospects, ineffective infrastructure, and diminishing revenue offset by substantial tax breaks. This strategy is accused of exploiting public ignorance regarding the limited local economic benefits, a phenomenon described by the Brookings Institution as the little durable local economic upside. A specific flashpoint is the proposed Prince William Digital Gateway project in Northern Virginia. This massive development, estimated to cover 2,100 acres, abuts the Manassas National Battlefield Park. The project has drawn significant opposition from local residents, including longtime farmers, Civil War reenactors, and activists who have protested the development, viewing it as a destruction of local character. The controversy gained further attention when legendary documentarian Ken Burns expressed strong disapproval of the project, writing a letter to the county's Board of Supervisors expressing his distress. The situation encapsulates a broader conflict: the push for massive data infrastructure versus the preservation of historical sites, natural ecosystems, and established residential communities. The full outcome of this development battle remains to be seen, with further details available on reveal.